He swore at the organs in the back of his van when he failed to find University Hospital of Cardiff. I'm less fucking alive than you. Tom left his vehicle at the office, delivered a note and the keys through a letterbox, filled a suitcase, left a written explanation for his landlord, and booked a flight to Auckland. He withdrew as much money as he could and boarded a plane, cutting his bank card up before departure. Having not told anyone of his return, Tom called his brothers. One didn't answer, the other collected him from the airport. Due to a disagreement, he was kicked out after one night. He sat in a bar with his suitcase, ordered a pint, and texted his second brother requesting a place to rest. 1 week, Tom, not a day longer. Are you organizing a place to live? I'm working on it. Tom took a pool house for $200 a week. He had neither sheets, blankets, kettle, microwave, nor stove. Towelless, after showering he dried himself with a jumper. Sleeping under his clothes, he was relieved at winter's conclusion. New Zealand was about to host the Rugby World Cup, and Auckland offered plenty of opportunity. 5 years away from kitchens and pubs, Tom held the hope of using his arts degree to find a professional job, but his confidence was shot. Uncertain, he was employed as a chef de partie in a 4-meter squared kitchen which at peak times held 5 chefs and a porter. The head chef was from India and, with a young family, was determined to succeed, running around the kitchen, even cooking Tom's orders when he couldn't make them in time, pushing the new employee to keep up and sweat it out. His wages covered rent, but not his chef whites, aprons, knives, or kitchen shoes. He borrowed money from his brother to cover extra costs and discreetly spent the leftovers on cans of lager. Rewarded with a free pint at the end of each shift, the staff were offered half-price drinks also: snake bites, tequila slammers, chocolate martinis, black and tans, Patron, Long Island iced teas, car bombs, Godfathers, and margaritas were recorded on Tom's tab. He'd drink until closing without fail. Chefs would find him still in the bar 9 hours after his shift had ended. Always on time, he roughed his way through workdays with stomach cramps and thumping headaches, bloated, red-faced, and sweaty. When the landlord's house sold, Tom moved to Ellerslie, where he'd drink on his days off, and sometimes before work shifts. Tom grew tired of his workplace and found a job as a sous chef in a Newmarket cafe. He'd have to make up to 150 different dishes in 8 hours, with only Sumatra, the head chef, and a young guy who turned up to help occasionally. Tom joined Sumatra at her house for a few drinks, where they proceeded to get tanked. The chef's intoxicated husband drove Tom home at 3 a.m., informing him not to look at his wife in that way. What way? With the shift starting in a little over 2 hours, he stayed awake. Aware Sumatra wouldn't make it to pick him up, Tom spent half the day's wages on a taxi ride, dragging himself through the hot and stuffy kitchen with a dry throat and empty belly. By 6:30, the head chef hadn't arrived. "Where the hell's Sumatra, Tom? Make some muffins and scones," the owner said. "No idea where she is. Baking's not my department." "Adapt! And do it now, for fuck's sake." Sumatra arrived to an overflow of orders, unprepped food and hash brown requests, with only raw potatoes on hand. Angry customers cursed at servers, who in turn shouted at the head chef. Going without a break, the kitchen closed at 3 p.m., and the pair headed to the roof for a much-needed cigarette. "Not fun, Tom. Let's never do that again." To ease his grogginess, Tom entered a pub and found his first pint rough, second a little smoother. The desire to quit crossed his mind as he licked from his lips. An overdraft. He couldn't pay for the beer with his card. However, he was able to withdraw money from the cash machine. The preceding shift was again hectic. The owner called a meeting announcing he had already had to pay out $1,000 in refunds and vouchers. "What's the problem?" he said. "We're understaffed. It's insane with 2 of us on cabinet, deli, and restaurant food. Impossible. Can't pay extra people wages in quiet times. You need to sort a better system." Alone in a pub, each finished pint glass was placed on a coaster. Tom still couldn't work out whether to earn money or abandon his hated job and move on. He lost count of how many pints he had consumed and ended up in a Japanese karaoke bar. Taking cash from an ATM, he made his way to Showgirl's strip club. In the attached penthouse brothel, he spoke to a middle-aged Fijian prostitute. "I don't want to sleep with you. I'm lonely. I have no one to talk to. Still full price. $2.60 an hour." "Fine. Talk." "I'm a hopeless drunk. Can't hold a job, a girlfriend, a home. I'm a painter who can't pick up a paintbrush, a writer who can't finish a paragraph. I don't cook to eat, I cook to drink. How did you end up here?" "I was raped by 2 men and lost my dignity. So there you go." The couple lay in each other's arms. Tom was awoken from his sleep when the door opened and his host said it was time to leave. Suits, ties, and dresses in early daylight hours greeted him in Fort Street. His swollen brain couldn't figure out how to buy a train ticket, but he knew he needed his bed and wouldn't make it to work. He sent a text to his boss, "Sorry, it's over," and passed out fully clothed, the taste of showgirls in his mouth. "I just spent $1,000 I don't have." Tom put his phone on silent, allowing calls from his boss to ring through. Uninspired to leave the house for the cash machine, he had the choice of food or dust lager with the coins in his pocket. Forcing himself across the road, he chose the latter and drank in bed. Another job interview came up, this time in a restaurant on Princess Wharf. Tom bought a hip flask of vodka to add confidence, but it accelerated his illness, and he swallowed it in 10 minutes. Why go to the interview when I could instead crack my head on the concrete while diving off the wharf? A taxi driver noted Tom's troubles when he stopped at the traffic lights. "Are you all right, my friend?" "Yeah, I'm fine." "Have a good day." There was no interview. Hungover the next morning, Tom's friend bought him chicken, chips, and Coke after sharing an old cigarette they found on the floor. "I'm going to stop drinking," Tom said. "When pigs fly." Tom crawled back to his old pub job, where they were desperate for a dishwasher, reluctantly offering him 1 shift a week. Work and Income New Zealand doled money out for him to buy food. He stayed off the drink, despite mockery by co-workers who slammed pans into the lowly dishwasher's sink and laughed at his rejection of the bar's temptations. 3 months went by and Tom listened intently to a woman speaking on Radio New Zealand. She was forthright, smart, and rational in her talk about how she beat alcohol. Not a TV personality or a sports person, a normal, struggling human facing the same alcoholic demons. It was Mrs. D, and Mrs. D helps turn his life around. Tom forced himself to look at his alcoholism. He had been sick for more than half his life, but held on to romantic nostalgia. It defined his whole being throughout adolescence and into adulthood. His mother supported him. His brothers and acquaintances heckled him, though eventually accepted his choice of ginger beer. No more ashtray mouth, sore chest, anxiety, broken sleep, heart palpitations, loneliness, hunger without food, not being able to piss. After interviews with Tom, who provided valuable assistance in writing his biography, I've not received contact from him in months. At the time of writing, Tom was 5 years sober and working as a drug and alcohol counselor in South Auckland. I hope he is doing okay. Nice one, man.